Contender Series history, would you say?
Yeah, it was awesome. Almost perfect.
Let's go through, I guess, Danny Barlow, the main event. You said he kind of saved things raw, young, as you said, things to work on.
That's what I think, too. I think he's kind of wild, gets out there. But I didn't get to see enough of him either, From what I saw, he's very wild, but he's a freak athlete. If that kid can get dialed in and who knows? He looks promising for sure.
Do you ever worry about that? Like, hey, maybe he's too raw. Maybe he needs a little more seasoning time.
Listen, man, in this business, raw and explosive and athletic, it works.
Yeah. Starting the night off with Vinicius, I think that was pretty clear once he delivered the big knockout that he was going to get signed. Did you, offer him a contract before he even got back to the locker room?
Yeah. Yeah, no, listen, he came in and did what you're supposed to do, especially when you're over a 2-1 favorite. You know what I mean? He delivered on what everybody expected of him. And if that isn't on SportsCenter's top 10 tomorrow, there's going to be some crazy shit going on in sports tonight. That's for sure.
A lot of baseball going on right now. So
yeah.
So
that means this should be number one.
Yeah. And then you had the back-to-back kind of fight of the series contenders. Wiki, both of those were some of the best fights we've ever seen.
Well, when you think about this, Carly took this fight on 10 days' notice. And I said to the girls, I said it to her in the back when I went back. Shit, I didn't tell her that I was signing her too. It's funny because in between fights, I go back to my room and I was talking to Lene and the group back there about, how good that girl was and what a badass fight, blah, 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 split decision. And then right when I walked out, Mick was like, we're crazy if we don't sign both of them. And so we were all on the same page with that one. And she took that fight on 10 days' notice. And I said this with all due respect to both of them. They look like a couple of men. The technique, just the output, the punishment they both took, it was almost like they had an agreement to not go to the ground, and they're just going to, I don't know. I can't say enough good things about this fighter, both of them. And like I was saying, in my interview, there's a lot of things you can teach people. Dog isn't one of them. You either have that in you or you don't. And both of these girls and both of the guys have truckloads of it.
When did you make the decision on Pacheco? Because you told him you were going to give him his win money. Was it when you were standing up there that you finally decided you wanted to sign him as well? Or did you kind of know immediately after the fight, we're bringing these two guys in as well?
I went back there to tell him he was going to get his win money. When I went back there, his ear's hanging off. He's crying. And he looks at me and he says, I told him I'm going to pay you your win money. He could give a fuck that I'm going to give him his win money. And he's crying. He said, I wanted to win this fight so bad. I want to be in the UFC so bad. If there's ever a late-minute pullout or there's anything, please think of me. I said, oh, yeah. I said, dude, you are right up my alley. We're going to pay you your win money. And I went back and told the boys, we're signing this kid. You want to be in the UFC that bad? He wanted to win this fight that bad. How bad do you think he wants to win his first UFC fight? It's going to be, it's funny. We were, after the fight, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, yeah, it was awesome. Whatever I was going to say was pretty good too, but I can't remember what the fuck I was going to say.
Do you have an update? I know you're at the hospital right now. Do you have an update on his ear? Is there?
It was like this is like one of the first times just like nobody there to give contracts to. Everybody's at the hospital. Well, almost everybody. I love kids like this. And tonight. Signing both of the people is what this show is all about. Oh, that's what it was. After the fight was over, Cub Swanson walks over and goes, that guy's fucking nuts. talking about Angel. And, I love it, man. Love it.
That's awesome. One last thing on tonight. I know you didn't want to talk about the heavyweight fight, but you did mention the refereeing as well. The knees to the head of a grounded opponent have been a big thing lately, and the definition of grounded opponent. I guess, what's your thoughts on
First of all, the referee, these guys are here to fight. He didn't make them fight for 2 rounds. These guys literally did the same shit for 2 rounds. And in the corner, the Brazilian kid's corner was telling him, that's perfect. Do that again this round. And then going to the last round, he said, you're 5 minutes away from winning this contract. Do the exact same thing. Apparently, that guy's never watched the show. Let's start there, number one. And number two, the ref never made them fight. Then as soon as the bullshit hand thing happens, now the ref jumps in and disqualifies the other guy for actually fighting. And that is a bullshit rule, which I believe has already been changed, but I don't know if the regs have been changed. You can't just lay your fingers down and say, if your hand is flat and your body weight is on your hand, yes, it would be the knee to a downed opponent. That tonight was not, and I'm not going to play into whether the guy was really hurt or not. We'll let the doctors figure that out, but it was pretty miraculous how he got up as soon as the fight was stopped. And the Contender Series was designed to find fighters. We're not looking for actors. That's a different show.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. A couple outside tonight. You've been breaking a lot of news lately. We know we have Prochazka and Pereira for the light heavyweight title. I guess, first, how excited are you about that fight? Because I think people really are. But also to maybe get some stability back to that division that's been so weird as of late.
Yeah, I mean, that whole weekend. First of all, the card is – all these cards now, it's the end of the year is coming, and every year at the end of the year, these cards start getting filled up with lots of fun fights. And then that weekend in New York, they announced Callum Walsh. So we got Callum Walsh fighting. I can't remember the kid's name is Ismael Villarreal. Ismael Villarreal. He's 13-1. He's from the Bronx. One of the many things I love about Callum is this kid fights real people, man. That's going to be in the in the small arena on Thursday night. Bill Burr is Friday night at MSG, and we're Saturday night at MSG. So it's like a fun weekend that weekend for MSG. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. I don't know what you asked me, but I hope I answered your question.
I was asking about the light heavyweight division, and I guess the idea would be, Jamal, when he comes back, like he fights for a title right away, whether it's next or whether it's 2 fights away.
100%.
And then the other thing with the two title fights at 296, I think everybody finally realized Conor McGregor is definitely not fighting this year because the end of the year is done. I guess what can you tell us the latest on Conor and maybe the latest on Chandler as well? Are you staying in touch with him? Is he ready to move on? What's kind of the play with both?
I got nothing on either one of those guys right now. I mean, I've been saying, for a while, next year is when Conor's going to fight. And then obviously, if Chandler gets antsy, we'll figure something out. I think Chandler's got a bunch of money. He's hanging out with his family, and when the time is right for the Conor fight, I'm sure that's the fight he wants.
Nice. And
I'm not speaking for him. I'm just saying. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Last thing I would ask you: the Mark Hunt lawsuit got dismissed today. Just curious if you had any comments about that now that it's in the rearview mirror.
I mean, it's never been. Listen, Mark Hunt he's lost so many lawsuits against us. It's insane. He's a bit of a delusional guy. He's going to have to pay some legal fees.
Then just going back to tonight, when you have fights like you have tonight where they're crazy and you want to sign both people, is there any part of you that thinks, maybe we should start looking at Contender Series bonuses, Fight of the Night bonuses?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Fight of the Night bonuses on this fucking show, I mean, you'd be giving, how would you pick? I mean, it's tough enough on UFC cards. On these things, it's tough. But I think the bonuses that I end up doing is when I decide to give, somebody their win money too. There's been a lot of that in this show. A lot of that.
You mentioned Callum Walsh there. I wanted to ask you if you had heard the rumors and reports that are starting to come out that Showtime might be leaving boxing.
That's incredibly unfortunate. Production of that show is fantastic. The guy who runs Showtime Boxing is a great human being. It's unfortunate to hear this. Fuck Espinoza. And it's about time that shitty product is off the air.
You're sad to see it go, I see. It does feel then that there might be a gap in the market in boxing. And
what's that?
It sounds like there could be a gap in the market then for boxing. And maybe if some companies have just formed a new company, there could be a big juggernaut that could start a new boxing promotion or boxing show.
You never know. Sounds good to me.
Hi, Dana. I just wanted to ask about the matchmaking for Patty and Tony. It sounds like an exciting fight, but a lot of fans seem to be pushing back on it. Can you talk to me about, your thoughts on that fight?
I agree with you because I think a lot of people think that Patty is unproven, and I think a lot of people feel like this is a fight that Tony isn't in deep water like he's been in his last several fights. I think the matchmaking and the timing on this fight is excellent and couldn't be more perfect. If you look at Tony's last few fights that he's fought, he looked damn good before, the Chandler finish. And every fight that he's fought in the last, 2 or 3 fights, he looked damn good right up until the end. So it's a fun, interesting fight with 2 fun and interesting characters.
Yeah, I think the press conference for that will be interesting as well.
I agree.
I know we already talked about the PFL Bellator potential buyout. There's now a rumor that Bellator may just be going under completely, and that would leave quite a few fighters open, needing places to fight. And I'm wondering if there's ever been a thought about bringing people like Johnny Eblin or Patricio into UFC, if you guys would be open to something like that.
Well, I haven't heard that, and I don't really know a lot about what's going on with that whole thing, and I think I gave my opinion of that earlier a couple months ago. So it wouldn't be shocking if it didn't happen. I never really thought it made sense in the first place, but I don't want to underestimate Blockbuster or Netflix or whatever it was said, but I don't know. I never got it, but I don't know. It's nothing that I haven't even thought about. I mean, if we were even remotely interested in Bellator, we would have been a bidder. But there's nothing really at Bellator that's really interested me. So
even like maybe just 1 or 2 fighters you're not interested in?
Oh, I'm not saying that there weren't some guys but we're not really thinking about or looking at that at all right now. As far as I know, the PFL deal's happening. So
Patricio came out last week. The reason I'm asking, he said he would love to fight in the UFC to kind of finish off his career. Is that a name that would interest you at all?
Listen, I haven't been thinking about anybody, but who knows? Who knows what could happen?
Thank you.
See how that whole thing plays out. And
hey, Dana. Where does that Pacheco featherweight performance rank in Contender Series history for you?
Yeah, I mean, they destroyed the Contender Series significant strikes record. Destroyed it. Yeah, it's one of the best fights ever in the history of the Contender Series. I mean, yeah, it was awesome.
Last year, I feel like Bo Nickel, Cameron Simon, and Raul Rosas, those were the headlines, I feel, for the show last year. Do you feel this year the headlines are the wars that we saw tonight? Yeah, tonight was one of the best nights. Tell me the last women's fight you saw that was an absolute dog fight like that. And I mean, I haven't seen something like that since Joanna and Whaley. You know what I mean? It was that good. And on the subject of prospects, you mentioned Callum Walsh earlier. It's Ismael Villarreal. He's fighting on the Thursday. Are you going to watch it live in the theater? I'll be there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll be there for that fight. I saw him fight for the first time about 18 months ago at Montebello. I think you were there on a different night. How are you kind of, how do you rate his development, in the 18 months that you've kind of been following him? Callum? Yeah, Callum. Yeah, listen, like I said, this kid's been fighting real guys. Normally they give you a bunch of stiffs on your way up in boxing. This kid's doing it the right way. And I think that, the UFC has been the model to prove that when you fight legit fights all the way up, nobody questions you when you become the champion. Oh, he's this, he's that. You got another guy over here that he didn't face you. You fight all the best on your way up. It's tough for people not to look at you as the man. So, and the experience that you get in those type of fights. And for Callum, this kid should be a great fight. Plus, you got the whole, he's from Ireland. This kid's from New York. You got, a local New Yorker. Plus, Tom Loeffler, Bill, I love the matchmaking. And that's why I put his boxing cards on UFC Fight Pass. Just like tonight, I'm all about matchmaking, man. I love good matchmaking. And Tom Loeffler is the best matchmaker in boxing.
from what you've seen, are you kind of like, I see him getting more media now, Callum. Is it kind of like reinforcing what you liked about him? Do you feel like more people are kind of becoming aware that this kid might be a future superstar in boxing?
Do I think that what? That he could...
He's getting more media now, Callum Walsh. Do you feel like it's kind of reinforcing what you first saw in him, 2 years ago, that he could be a future superstar?
100%. Yeah, I mean, from the minute, and not just me, Freddie Roach, too. I mean, Freddie Roach is a big believer in Callum. So, yeah, I was on board early, and, I've done everything that I can do to help to expose him to more people and get people into watching his fights. And, I look forward to hopefully in the next year or so seeing him fight for a title.
You told me a couple of weeks ago that there is room for a boxing division at TKO and that you'd create it. Is Callum the kind of boxer that could box under the TKO banner?
Well, hypothetically, sure, he'd be a guy that I'd be interested in.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks.
Hey, Dana.
Yeah.
The main event was kind of billed as the Battle of Memphis, Tennessee, because both guys were from Memphis. Both guys were the regional team was trying to get them to fight for many years, but they would never fight because they were friends and they wanted to get paid. So then they get matched.
I didn't even know that.
So then they get matched up on the Contender Series, and they throw that out the window. And I'm sure that, obviously you're not a fan of fighters not wanting to fight friends, but they went out there and went to war.
100%. And both of those guys were super explosive. It's almost like whoever was going to land that good shot first was going to win the fight. Yeah, both guys look great right up until the end.
You said for Vinicius Oliveira that you could see him in big fights. What does that mean? Like, does that mean you want to throw him like on a big card, a big opponent, a top opponent? Like, what do you mean by when you say that?
Yeah, I think that when you have a guy that has this type of experience, he's won 7 of his last 8. Nearly all of his wins are by finish. He's been fighting since 15. And, he held the title somewhere, which means he's done 5 rounds or been in 5-round fights. He's coming into the UFC, and he's got to shake out those UFC jitters for the first couple fights, but he's a guy that you can throw in some real fights.
I wanted your reaction to Bryce Mitchell bringing his Bible into the cage and saying freedom. Like, what was your reaction when you saw that?
I got no reaction. You know how I am here. Whatever you're into, man, there's no muzzles here. There's no, whoever you are, whatever you believe, whatever you think. We've heard it all, seen it all, and, well, we think we have. Well, who knows what's next? But, this is one of those places where you say what you feel and you say what you want, and it's all good with me.
And then finally, just on the main event, obviously, Rafael Fiziev blew his ACL. It was confirmed today. He's probably going to be out for a year. But what do you see for Gamrot? Is he inching closer to a title shot? Like what do you think of? I mean, it only was a 2-round fight, but what do you think of that fight, and what do you think of him?
Well, it's one of those things where we look at. What would be a good example right now? I guess the welterweight division would be a good example. Like we're in matchmaking, and like literally the whole division in the top 15 have fights. One of the things that we talked about last week in matchmaking was now extending our rankings down to 20 instead of 15. In the room when we're looking at these guys, because we have almost the whole welterweight division lined up with fights right now. So in your question for him, it would be timing, who's fighting, who's not, what works, what doesn't. So to say, how far away is he from a title shot, he's a couple. He's got to get a couple key wins.
And finally, you brought out the welterweight division. The only fighter that does not have a fight is Bilal Muhammad. Is he being eyed as the backup?
Bilal Muhammad has a fight.
Oh, he has a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Can you?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Is it Kamaru Usman?
Bilal has a fight, and we'll announce it soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
And over here, you mentioned Mick going up to you after the flyweight fight, saying that it would be crazy if we don't sign both of them. Has there ever been a fighter who won their fight on the show, and maybe you weren't really a fan of them at first, but maybe Mick, Hunter, or Sean convinced you to sign them?
No, it just happened recently. The girl that that DC said, oh, she should have been signed. You know, we turned right around and signed her, and she fought in the UFC, and she won.
Okay, yeah, because I was like referring like on the night of maybe as soon as he or she won the fight, maybe you weren't really a fan of, and then in the back room, maybe the team told you, no, we should sign this person.
Oh, has there been a situation where I didn't want to sign him and the guys did? We're usually pretty aligned. We're usually pretty aligned, and it's not really. There's never a situation where I'm like, no, we're definitely not signing this person. They want to sign him. Believe me, it's usually the other way around. It's me saying, oh, I like this, pushing them.
And in that heavyweight fight, I saw you get up after the action was stopped. Was that like a quick trip to the restroom, or was that?
Yeah, I was going to leave. I was going to walk out. I was fucking so pissed off about everything involved in that fight, except for, let's be fair to Alexander. You know what I mean, the guy. But you got to be able to stop that takedown. You got to be able to stop him and get back up on your feet. If you can't stop him, there's going to be guys in the heavyweight division in the UFC that are just going to throw you on the ground and maul you. You know what I mean? I believe that guy came to fight and wanted, but you can't stop this guy's takedown. He had you down the entire 2 rounds. And then the ref isn't doing anything. The ref isn't making them fight. He's letting them stay in the same position for literally, 10 minutes. Then the minute anything happens, he's going to disqualify the other guy. It just, everything about that fight pissed me off. And I told those guys, if this fight keeps going this way, I'm leaving. It's going to be the first time I left during a friggin' Contender Series fight. And now I'm listening on the headphones, and his corner goes, do the same exact thing you did the first 2 rounds. We're 5 minutes away from this contract. I was like, oh, hell no. This can't be happening.
I figured that was one of those I've seen enough moments. But speaking about Alexander Volkanovski posted today saying January sounds good for me. If he does end up fighting in January.
Alexander said he's what?
Volkanovski said January sounds good for me.
January?
He said that. So, I mean, I'm not sure what that is referencing to. But if he does end up fighting in January, that would be his 6th title defense in 4 years. How does it feel having someone that active as a champion and also successful?
All those Australia, New Zealand guys, man, it's like Izzy. These guys love to fight, love to defend, and apparently love to make money. So I like it.
Fair enough.
I like it a lot.
Dana, since you mentioned Izzy, he did an interview for his YouTube channel talking about his loss to Sean Strickland. Then it came out that he was pulled over for a drunk driving charge before that. I don't know what your thoughts on that. Did you think it affected the fight, that whole thing maybe weighing on his psyche going into the fight? And I guess your thoughts on Izzy right now.
Yeah, no, I think that bad decisions, man. You know what I mean? No matter how many drinks you've had, if you drink, don't drive, man. It's just, and especially, it's one thing, Ubering is easy and all this other stuff, but when you have that kind of money that kid has, get a driver, have somebody drive you, or Uber or whatever. He made a bad decision. Thank God nobody was hurt, him or anybody else. And you know what I say about mistakes. How do you handle them after you make them? So hopefully that's a one and done for him, and he never does it again.
Going back to earlier when they were talking about Patty and Tony, if Tony should lose that fight against Patty, what's next for Tony after that? Yeah,
I mean, I would let Tony make that decision, but I'm sure if he loses to Patty, he would probably look at calling it. He's had a great career. Done a lot of things, had a lot of big fights, and probably be a wrap for him, hopefully.
And last for me, Stephen Thompson came out recently, I think it was on the Weidman podcast, and said that he was going to get his pay from the last fight for fighting Shavkat. Can you confirm that? Is that true?
What's the question?
That Stephen Thompson was going to get his pay for the last fight that he didn't fight because of the weight miss, because he's fighting Shavkat, so he's almost going to get double pay on this next fight. I think I'm saying that right. Is that
okay?
That's what he said on the.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what he said. It must be true.
Fair enough. Thanks, Dana.
Good. Thank you, guys.
I'm useful.
Congratulations on a victory, an incredible performance, and of course a UFC contract as well. So what's the emotion like for you right now?
Parabéns pela vitória, obviamente tremenda vitória, e também pelo contrato. Quais são as emoções do momento?
Man, I feel so good. This is my dream come true. I've been training for this moment since when I started martial arts, and I knew and will happen one day, and this day was today.
Very nice. You're no stranger to big highlight reel knockouts, but is this one more special because of what it means and getting into the UFC than any other one?
Flashes e menores momentos não são estranhos para você. Seus nocautes são sempre muito contundentes. Esse é o mais importante para entrar no UFC?
Of course, all fights for me is most important of my career, but this knockout, I think it is most important because I was in the door to get into UFC, and for this knockout that I will able to get into UFC.
Were there any surprises tonight, either in how your opponent competed or maybe the way you felt versus how you have throughout your career?
Alguma surpresa essa noite, não só como o teu oponente estava se comportando, ou também da maneira como você se sentiu comparado com a tua carreira até hoje, ou alguma coisa diferente?
No, I have not surprised. I've been training for any situation inside the cage. I was prepared to fight on the ground, stand up, so it's not a surprise for me.
Very nice. Last thing for me, you know you have a UFC debut coming up, so what's your dream for it? Is there a place you want to compete or an opponent you want to compete against? What would you like to do in your debut?
E a minha última pergunta, obviamente, você tem que fazer uma estreia no UFC. Tem algum lugar alguma data que você queira começar, algum lugar que você queira começar, algum oponente que você tem na cabeça?
I think it would be amazing to me fight in Brazil in my country, but if it wasn't able, I will be prepared to fight in any country, like in December or November. Anyway.
Vinicius, I just wanted to know what's the origin of your nickname?
Qual é a origem do seu apelido?
When I was a kid, the people used it to call me for prejudice myself, for hurt my mind, and I didn't like this nickname. And I started to use this nickname in a positive way. So now I use this name to prove the world that this Lock Dog is not a bad guy. Lock Dog is a good guy.
Awesome, thank you.
Vinicius over here. You're only 27 years old, but Dana said that they can put you in big fights right away after what he saw. Where do you see yourself 1 year from now?
Você só tem 27 anos de idade, mas o Dana falou que pode colocar você para lutar em qualquer lugar. Onde é que você se vê daqui a um ano?
I see myself fight for the belt, for sure. It not from 1 year, it can be tomorrow. I'm prepared. Thanks so much.
Congratulations on your victory, of course, and the UFC contract. What's the emotion like for you right now?
Hello, thank you very much. It feels amazing, you know. I'm just feeling everything inside. Just if I could, I would be crying right now. So I'm just really happy.
Absolutely a battle in there. I mean, were you expecting that type of fight tonight?
Of course, she was a badass too, so we should fight like that. So it was a war, and the biggest hard one.
Was there any part along the way that you thought, like, this has to slow down? Like, we can't just continue to fight like this?
No, I was willing to fight like that. So my fight plan was always put the pressure on her. So I was doing like that.
Very nice. I mean, people are saying it's one of, I mean, obviously there was another great fight tonight, but maybe two of the best fights ever in Contender Series history. Do you feel like that sets a bar? Like, when you make your UFC debut, people are going to expect you to fight like that every time.
It's really good, you know, when you're working hard, you're doing your job in a cage, and I think people see that. So my job is just to train harder and harder, and we will see everything in the future.
Nice. Did you have any concern at the end of 3 rounds that you hadn't won the fight?
No, everything is perfect.
Very nice. Last thing for me, what's the plan ideally for you? I'm sure you maybe want to rest a little bit, but your UFC debut, is there a location, a date, an opponent that would make sense for you?
Right now, I don't know anything, but just, you know, now I'm happy. I'm going back home tonight, so back in Lithuania, and then we will see what's going next.
After that crazy war, did you learn anything positive about yourself that would help you get the win in your UFC debut?
These fights like this, it motivates me a lot to go higher and higher, you know, to be a better fighter, to be a greater fighter. So I just really, really appreciate that I have the team like that. And we will bring everything in the future, I'm sure for that. Thank you very much.
Dana, congratulations on the victory, of course, and the UFC contract as well. I guess you might still be processing a little bit, but what's the emotion like for you right now?
Man, it's crazy. Man, like I said, I can't really process it right now. It's been a long time coming for sure. Yeah, so I'm still processing it. It might take a couple of weeks, man, only because it's so many people that deserved it, you know what I'm saying, other than me, my coaches, my teammates. They came. They came. Yeah, man. Shout out to Memphis, shout out to law school, shout out to my coach, Brian Hall. Like I said, yeah, it's a process for sure.
Awesome. I mean, less than a minute and a half of work in there, so not a lot of tape to break down, but I guess, you know, we all kind of expected fireworks. How do you feel about your performance and the way you performed there tonight?
Man, to be honest, I didn't want. We had a game plan, and I know it was on Dana White Contender, and I didn't want to respect them. You know what I'm saying? Because usually a lot of fights I had, it's been like fights to where guys are very experienced, and they saying the guy can actually beat me, but I should win. So that's always a lot of weird. So I had to get the job done, and it was another fight, you know what I'm saying, that I just had to get the job done. I want to get a little loose, but it's like, man, when I get in the cage on them type of fights, I'm fighting for something to prove myself, it's like I haven't even opened up to how I really strike or how I like to fight. But like I said, man, it was me I didn't even get settled in yet, and it's just how I fight. In the first round, I'm making reads. It's going to look sloppy, you know what I'm saying, because you don't know what the other fighter want to do, but I come to get the job done every time.
Was it challenging or different or weird? I mean, given the opponent, I mean, obviously you guys had been linked together for years, and people are always trying to get you guys to fight. Now it happened. I mean, was it weird or beneficial?
Man, it was a game of tug of war in Memphis, man. You know what I'm saying? It was like people was like, yeah, it was very hard, man. It was very difficult, man, to take that type of fight. Like I told, I was saying, man, I had to put my morals away. Because, like I said, my brothers, we fight in the house, but we don't fight we don't fight outside, man. So I feel like they had us fighting outside in front of, you know what I'm saying? It was hard. So I had to just make it business. I had to think real business, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was good work, you know what I'm saying? But
Dana had high praise for you, but he also said he felt like you're raw, and there's still a lot that you can do to get better. Do you agree with that assessment?
I mean, I agree with, because of the occasion, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't come to look pretty, you know what I'm saying? It would have got, that's the first minute, you know what I'm saying? I could have went out there and wrestled 3 rounds, you know what I'm saying? But nah, man, I can't get, nah, man, I came, man, to get serious, you know what I'm saying? So it was more so serious. And, of course, I had high praise for my opponent. And when I seen he was rock, I was like, man, let's get it. Let's get him out of here, man. So however it looked, man, it looked. But, man, you'll be surprised, man, how many guys in top 10 that want to see this work.
Nice. Last thing for me, you got the deal secured now. Ideal scenario for your UFC debut? Is it something you want to do quickly? Do you want to take some time? Is there a location, an opponent? What makes sense for your debut?
I told my coach after this, man, I fight anybody. I think just morally that matchup was probably the worst emotionally to deal with. So it's nobody now. It's all bars. It's all open now for whoever want it. I'll fight anybody after that. You know what I'm saying? That took me to a different place mentally I've never been. And like I said, this is a guy that, we've been standing out, he been, standing out of my way, I've been standing out his way, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And this was the fight that everybody wanted to see back home, and we stayed out of our way long enough. And so when it made sense, and like I said, it makes sense, but I always knew that we had what it take to be anybody. But like I said, my next step is whatever, man. I don't really care about the time. This fight, it's opportunities, you know what I'm saying? So when I first started out fighting, it was a lot of pressure. Now it's just like, it's what I do. And yeah, man, I just really want to take some time, get with my coaches individually and let them know how much I appreciate them, because they put 100% in. When you got that type of coaching staff, it's a lot of pressure to go out there and put in some work. For real.
Danny.
What's up, my guy, man? My guy.
You said it was tough to fight your friend, but how did it feel to come out as the top of the Battle of Memphis? Like, how did it feel to come out?
Man, it's different, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, we always, Memphis is always one of those cities that's, it's full of a lot of energy, man. It's full of a lot of pride. It's full of a lot. So to have that given to me, because I didn't claim it. You know what I'm saying? It was given, and I understand why. But man, it feels great, man. It feels like I can say, it's one of the things, other than getting a contract, that I can really I have a lot of pride in. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I really do appreciate that, though. You know what I'm saying?
How important is law school MMA to you?
You say how important?
Yeah. Man,
it's been 5 years, man. It ain't been that long, bro. It's been 4 years actually. Dang. Man, I've been fighting for 4 years, man. Man, it's been crazy because they keep that pressure, man. Like, it's a different type of pressure there. It's no easy days. I'm talking about mentally. Like, if we come in, we talk, like I said, my number one training partner, Paul Kimball, the guy been beating me up for the last, 4 years, I guess. Man, he been putting in work. So that's really, without him in my training camp, I don't feel comfortable getting. So anytime I look over and see Paul Kimball next to me, I'm okay. So just law school, and he's the next important because he's my number one training partner. So, man, other than that, man, they everything to me right now, man. They everything. They a group of fathers, a group of brothers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's more than teammates. And a lot of them came out to Vegas, man. Bought their own flights. Man, they came to support me. So, yeah, it's so much love, man, for real.
You went pro in 2021. You're in the UFC 2023. Did you think you'd be in the UFC?
Man, no, I ain't think nothing, man. Like, that's the thing, like, coach do the thinking for me. I'm the type of dude that's like, man, all right. When he said you ready to go pro, I was like, okay, let's go. When he was like, man, I want you to fight next week, I'm like, all right, let's go. I can't never tell him no, man, because I know I told him first I wanted 2 years of training. Like, man, I want to train for like a year and 6 months and start boxing. Then I had my own plan. Man, he threw me in the cage in 3 months, man, and it's been a go ever since. So I never doubted him. When it's hard to believe in yourself, you just turn to I got the people around me that speak so highly of me. I'm like, dang, I got to look in the mirror sometimes and repeat some of the stuff that they say to me. So, yeah, man, it's crazy.
And finally for me, now you probably have the top 3 best nickname in the UFC. For everyone that does not know, how did you get that nickname?
Man, coach, man. Dude really the master. I'm going to say coach 1,000 times in the interview. Man, dude, man, he creative, man. It's like he like a kid sitting back with a joystick, and I'm his creative player, man. And like I said, but dude, like for real, he gave me that. And it's like, because he knew how big I was, you know, when it come down to my belief system. And my belief system is built off faith, and it's very active. I play basketball, football, track, and ranch, so you can Google me and check me out. And, you know, want to see somebody get dunked on, man, Google me. But so it's like he knew how I had active, you know, we always talked about my belief system, and I was so active with it. I had so much faith, so he took that and he collaborated, and it was perfect. Everything worked out perfect.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it, bro.
And you over here. I'm sure you've seen how the UFC welterweight division has been playing out as of late. Do you have a message for the rest of the welterweights after that performance?
Like I told her, man, I do good business, man. I don't think it's anytime coach get a call or we get a call that I'm gonna say no. To be honest, I like. Of course, I'm the rookie in this game, so I gotta get active. I gotta show people, you know, where we at. And I feel like, so the message is that, man. Like, you know, who next? Who want it? However, you know, we can do it. Like I said, I've been a UFC fighter for 5 minutes. So, you know what I'm saying? I ain't finna do no negotiation. Like so I got work to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a start. I'm back 0. I'm 0-0 in this game. I had to start over. You know what I'm saying? So, like, my amateur record don't count. My other record don't count, man. So we finna get to working on this. I'm a freshman, man. I'm trying to work my way up to varsity for sure.
I mean, I know I saw you mention you're a freshman in this game, in the UFC at least, but what do you see yourself in 1 year?
Man, 1 year, I see myself at least 3-0. At least 3-0. I feel like it's a lot of guys that I can take out, and I'm know for sure give me after I see something, give me 3. Like if I'm losing or I can't wrestle, give me 3 weeks. If for anything in the game, give me 3 weeks. So if it's any matchup, I only need 3 weeks to prepare for it because we always in fight count, we always in shape, and we always got guys that's on the way to where I'm at. So we never really have times out. Me and my coach said we're gonna take a vacation after this, but we don't even know what that is. What's a vacation, coach? Man, so we working, man. So if he a striker, I look at him, I study him, and me and coach sit down. We're like, okay, man, he throw that left hook, he drop it, and he get 3 weeks of, you know what I'm saying. So it's like that's how we very, you know what I'm saying, specific with the way we do business when it come down to fight. So I just need 3 weeks for whoever, any matchup. So I see myself 3-0 in next year.
Congratulations.
No problem.